2025 truly was the return of fun and interesting highlighters, and I saw it in indie makeup, mainstream makeup, just generally everywhere in makeup, and I absolutely loved that. I love highlighter as a category of makeup. And honestly, regardless of how you enjoy to wear your highlighter, I am pretty sure I have something here for everyone. I'm going to talk about 25 different highlighter formulas that I tried in 2025. I also made a lot of highlighter videos in 2025, and I've talked about all of these a number of times on my channel. So I will link those in the cards and down in the description. I'm someone who can definitely appreciate a blinding sparkly highlight, but also a more subdued sparkle-free highlight, great for day-to-day. In my opinion, I've also got a lot of really great hidden gems, and I have demos with almost everything. We're going to talk about all of them, so let's go ahead and get into it. Alright, starting off with a highlight that you've heard me talk about so many times before. It is the most blinding highlight in my collection, and that is Drop from Diveron. And this one is very special to me because also, in addition to being blinding, the texture of it is also incredibly smooth. Now, this highlighter has a pretty fun story behind it. It came out as an eyeshadow that was part of the Dewdrops palette that launched in 2024. And it was so loved that it was also launched as a large highlighter pan this year in 2025. That was a great decision in my opinion. I can't imagine this one as being debunked anytime soon as the most blinding highlight in my collection. It has a pale chartreuse base and a strong blue-purple shift. Also, for my fellow indie makeup nerds, this is a similar shade to Myrrh from Clionadh. They're similar enough that if you have that one, you probably don't need this one. Next, we have a highlighter from Girl Cult, and Girl Cult is a really cool sea beauty brand that I've been using for years now. They came out with this collection earlier in 2025 called the Nanyang Holiday Collection, and this was the highlighter that was a part of that. It's cream highlight. It has multicolored sparkles, and despite being a sparkly highlight, it just sort of gives the skin a wet effect. I could say with confidence that this is my favorite highlighter from Girl Cult because I feel like it's the most interesting. They came out with a pretty cool jelly highlight a year prior that gave a glass skin effect, but I really like that this one is a little bit more punchy and interesting while still being quite wearable. Girl Cult is also pretty widely available. Next, I'm going to talk about a formula that I talked about in my eyeshadow video, and that is the eyeshadows from Sheen Effect, and specifically the iridescent eyeshadows. They have a lot of iridescence and a lot of semi-sheer shades, and because the textures of their shadows are smooth, they also make for beautiful blinding highlights if that's something that you're going for. This is the shade Night Elves, which is my own personal favorite shade. And this is just a good reminder in general that fun iridescent shadows can totally be used as highlighters, or at least are worth experimenting with a little bit. Sheen Effect, like Girl Cult, has a variety of retailers. I've seen the cost of the single shadows also vary depending on the formula. They have a slightly emollient to the touch texture, and I think that actually makes them lend themselves well to being used as face highlights. Alright, next I'm going to talk about the Rare Light Cream Luminizers from Rituel de Fille. You have probably heard me talk about this highlighter formula quite a bit this year, and for good reason. This formula has been around for a while, and I love the fact that it's available in so many different shades. This one that I'm swatching here, I believe, is limited edition. It came back during the archive event, and it's a beautiful kind of violet highlight. I absolutely love it, but they also have a blue. They have a plethora of neutral shades, and what I love about this formula is that it has no sparkle whatsoever, so it's perfect for day-to-day. It doesn't emphasize texture. The only thing I do want to mention about Rituel de Fille is that they do use some natural ingredients, and I have had some people tell me that their skin doesn't agree with it, but personally I have not had that issue. I know that they do work for lots of people, and they continue to be a staple in my collection. Alright, next we have a highlighter from MAC, and this came out as part of their holiday release. I believe it is limited edition. This is a cream highlight that doesn't have any sparkle. The texture of this reminds me a little bit of their blushes that are like this. They have kind of like a bouncy texture. Those ones are called the Glow Play blushes. And when I swatched this highlight on my hand, I'm not sure that I thought much of it, but when I tried it on and used it, it was a different story. I love the fact that it's buildable in its intensity, it's buildable in its opacity, and it's just a very approachable texture, especially for people that are playing around with colorful highlights, but maybe don't use them all the time. I feel like this is a great place to start. Because it's buildable, it's also great for people who do like a more blinding highlight. All right, next I have to talk about the KJH Hypershine highlight. Again, this is another formula I've talked about quite a bit in several videos, and for good reason. It is a daily staple for me. This is a beautiful cream highlight formula that doesn't have any sparkle, but don't be mistaken, these are blinding in their own way, and they also can be paired with the KJH Beauty Hypershine Serum to amp up the shine a bit more if that's what you're going for. I use these a whole lot by themselves, and I think that they work great over other face products like your blush, powders. They play well with other products in general, and I was so excited that for the holidays, they came out with a limited edition purple shade. I really do wish it was part of the permanent lineup, but who knows, maybe if it does really well, it'll stick around. This is definitely in my top 5 highlighter formulas for sure. All right, next we have a highlighter from a new brand that launched this year called God Mode, and they came out with one highlighter. I only wish that this came in more shades because it is such a cool highlight. This is called Genesis, and basically this is a green iridescent highlight. It doesn't have any sparkle. It's buildable, but it's very intense. And how cool is this packaging? I love the fact that it comes in this heavy weighted egg and that you can apply it directly from the egg itself. I would truly love to see this highlight in other shades as well. Like, you know, I would love a blue and a purple. God Mode is a gaming inspired brand, and I am excited to see what is in their future in 2026. Also, in case you're curious, I do find this one to be more intense than the MAC one. It also has a bit shinier of a look on the skin. Next, we have a highlighter from NYX. This is Butter in Black, and this took a little while to drop in the US and to become more widely available in general, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say this is the coolest highlight shade that NYX has come out with, especially if you do have a medium to deeper skin tone like I do. It's a beautiful olive shade, and in general, this highlight launch from NYX was really great. They came out with around 10 or so powder highlighters. They're mostly neutral shades, but they do have a few colorful ones as well, like a lilac one, a mint one. The formulas of the different shades vary, and I actually did a dedicated video on these, so if you're curious to see the different shades in action, I'm going to link that in the cards. The pink one, for example, was very smooth. This one is smooth but more sparkly. And speaking of NYX, they actually just came out with a new highlight formula. This is called the Buttermelt Sticks. And again, I did a dedicated video on these in case you want to see each shade in action. I'm swatching my favorite shade here, which is Big Melt Energy. I don't love the packaging, but packaging aside, I actually really like the formula of these. These are cream highlights. They do have a bit of a wet look on the skin, but they don't feel wet, and I actually found that they lasted very well when I did my wear test. Some of them have no sparkle at all, while others have sparkle in them, although I will say even the sparkly ones don't look like overly sparkly on the skin if you're going for something that's more day-to-day friendly. I do wish that in this formula they had come out with some more interesting shades as well, like a baby blue, a purple, but maybe down the line. From Danessa Myricks, we have the lowlighter formula, and this formula is not new as of 2025, but I did play around with it this year, and especially when I was making my video on highlights that don't have sparkle, cream highlights specifically, this was a standout formula. This is another formula that I would recommend to somebody who was a bit intimidated of highlighter. You can get a lot of glow with these, but the texture of these is incredibly approachable. You can also use them layered on top of different products or underneath if you want more of a lit from within glow. They're definitely going to play well in a variety of ways, but I just found that all the different shades had a surprising amount of glow and impact while still being so incredibly approachable. And I've said it about Danessa Myricks products before, and I'll say it again. I just feel like so many of the Danessa Myricks beauty products are incredibly unique from a texture perspective, from a formula perspective, and these highlighters are no exception. Okay, next we have a product from Haus Labs, and these came out at the beginning of the year. I love so many of the products from Haus Labs, especially the blushes. I've talked about the blushes quite a bit. And these highlighters are really great too from the formula perspective. These will give you the effect of glass skin, probably as the name implies. In my experience, they apply beautifully over other makeup products. I don't think they really move things around, though of course when you use any products like these, you do have to be a little bit careful about that. Personally, I have to be a little bit careful with these because I already tend to look dewy on my own. So with these, I can look extra dewy, and I don't really mind that. In fact, I prefer looking dewier to looking dry, but it is something I want to mention. I really like the packaging for these too. I feel like the way that they have a more precise applicator makes them easier to apply. From Half Magic Beauty, we have another formula that I really love. I actually have a few of these that I've received over time, and one of them I actually took some of the product and depotted it into one of my travel palettes. In my opinion, this is an underhyped highlight, so I love the fact that you have a more champagne color and a bronzier color, and you kind of mix them to make your own custom shade. You don't have any sparkle with these, and it just makes your skin look so healthy, so radiant. It's very easy to apply and easy to use in a variety of ways. Like a lot of the face products from Half Magic, comes in compostable packaging, so you can actually remove this pan and put it into a magnetic palette if you'd like. I find it to be a very natural highlight while still giving an incredible amount of glow. And fun fact, they actually use this highlighter on the set of Euphoria quite a bit, I learned. From Fouille, we have the jelly pudding pots, and I actually did a dedicated video for Fouille where I did demo these, and I don't have a demo here, but I will say this is an incredibly unique texture, and one unlike any of the other highlights I'm talking about. It has that pudding-like feel. It feels wet to the touch, and just like their other pudding pots, these can be used in a variety of ways. You can use them on the lips, you can use them on the face, and honestly, I mean, these are one of the OG kind of glass skin effect highlighters. This is a formula that honestly I still have to play around with more, so if you have different ways that you like to use these, definitely let me know in the comments. I love so many of the products from Fouille, and I love the fact that they're now available in Ulta, just another place where you can find them in store now. Alright, next we have a highlight from REM Beauty, and I believe that this formula was new to the brand this year. They had some blushes in this kind of applicator, but I'm pretty sure they didn't have highlights. This is called Fembot, and it was part of their Fembot capsule collection, but I believe that this shade is part of the permanent lineup now. It's basically a sheer balm that has a blue and purplish leaning sparkle throughout. The sparkle is pretty fine, so on the skin it just kind of has a wet effect. It doesn't look like overly sparkly or blinding, so I do find it to be pretty day-to-day friendly. And honestly, I've really enjoyed this highlight. I like the packaging, I like the ease of application, and I like the overall effect. And I've had people tell me they either really love this formula or really don't. There doesn't seem to be much in between, but if you've tried this formula, definitely let me know what you think of it in the comments. Next, we have a highlighter from Lethal Cosmetics. This is their music box highlight, and it was a part of their Conjuring collection. I do believe that it's currently still available. This is one of my favorite pieces from that collection. This is a chrome highlighter, but as you can see, the texture itself is quite smooth. And it's sparkly, it packs a punch, don't get me wrong, but it's super pretty. And honestly, I've heard a bunch of people reviewing this highlight, even those that don't always love a super intense sparkly highlight, and even those people I've heard really enjoying this highlighter. So I don't know, maybe there's something about it. I have to say that with Lethal Cosmetics in general, they have a lot of hits for me and a lot of misses. I think The Conjuring was a really great collection, especially the eyeshadow palette in this highlighter. I also really liked the Dexter collection. Alright, we have a polarizing one. This is Lavender Lover from Fenty. And Fenty came out with a whole bunch of new diamond bombs this year, including Lavender Lover. This is like a lot of their other diamond bombs, so you get kind of a sheer sparkle with it. I will say, like, it's not the most impressive swatch, as you can see. You get a lavender and kind of a blue sparkle with it. When I applied it to the skin, I thought it looked beautiful, especially when I used a kind of fluffier brush. Again, it's a highlighter that's sparkly, but somehow it's not too much. The biggest complaints I've heard about this collection is that, you know, it isn't as intense as the shade How Many Carats for sure. I've had some people tell me they were disappointed about that, or the hard panning that they got with this. But I've also heard people tell me that they love it. Fenty has some really great sales. I highly recommend trying to get this one on sale if you're curious about it. They also came out with a pink one and a gold one. This one is my own personal favorite. And from Beaute Bar, we have the Dark Dreamscape highlight. This is a very blinding highlight. Beaute Bar in general has a lot of extremely sparkly makeup products. The highlighters are not for the faint of heart. They're like Diveron highlighters, like the first highlight that I showed. And this shade honestly looks like the drop highlight, so I don't think that you need both by any means. It's a beautiful highlighter, but if I'm going to split hairs, because that's kind of what I'm trying to do here in this video, I do find that texture-wise, the Diveron one, the drop highlight is easier to use. It's just incredibly smooth, so just a little bit easier to apply in that way, but I honestly think they're both great. If you're looking for an intense blinding highlight, that is, of course. All right, we have another highlighter from Haus Labs, and this one isn't new, but it's new to me as of this year. And this is Fire Opal in the powder highlight formula. Now, I bought this highlighter because I was trying to get a few more formulas that I thought were powder highlights that didn't have sparkle. That's a video that I'm planning to do but haven't done yet, and honestly, I was a little bit mistaken with that. I think this one definitely has sparkle, but it's a beautiful highlighter, and honestly, for someone who has a medium to deeper skin tone like me, it's flattering, especially if you like a blinding highlight. So I'm definitely glad that I picked this one up. It's very pricey at $40. I've never seen a shade quite like this. In general, Haus Labs tends to be a little bit on the higher end, just price-wise, but a lot of the products I find to be pretty top tier. Next, I have to mention this palette that I tried somewhat recently from Glisten Cosmetics, and this is an all iridescent palette called the Shapeshifter palette, and it is really unique because it has pretty smooth texture while still being incredibly blinding. Of course, these can be used as eyeshadows, but I was pleasantly surprised to see how well the blue one applied as a highlighter. In general, I just think iridescent palettes are fantastic, especially when they're versatile. I do find that a lot of iridescent palettes may look better as an eyeshadow than a face highlight, so I love it when you find one that works really well as both. Glisten is a UK-based indie brand, but they do have several other international retailers in case you're curious. I'm excited to try out more from Glisten. Let me know if you're interested in seeing a dedicated brand review video. And from Wet n Wild, we have new chrome highlighters that came out in the spring. This was probably one of my favorite releases that Wet n Wild did this year, and I don't say that lightly because I tried a lot from Wet n Wild and they had a lot of really fun releases. I love that this was a more kind of smaller capsule collection. It included 2 duochrome highlighters, including this blue highlight. These are pretty sparkly highlights, so honestly, yes, you do have to like a sparkly highlight to get on board with using this one on the face. You could, of course, apply it more naturally than I did with a brush, and you can also use it as an eyeshadow. I love using these as eyeshadow toppers and as inner corner highlights and brow bone highlights. To have a product like this available for drugstore pricing, I think is such a great thing. I hope to see more like it in 2026. Next, we have a highlight from Mob Beauty, and this is another really great option if you like a cream highlight that doesn't have sparkle. This will give the skin a really beautiful sheen. It comes in a few shades. This one is kind of like a peachy toned. I have a lot of favorites from Mob Beauty, and I want to say I've heard a lot of people tell me that this is their ride or die highlight formula. It does have a bit more of a wet kind of balmy texture, so in that way it is a little bit different than something like the KJH or the Half Magic. I really need to do a dedicated wear test with this just to see specifically from the wear perspective how it compares to those formulas. Next, we have a brand called Espresso, and honestly, I haven't tried that much from this brand. I wish that they were a little bit easier for me to get in the US. This is an Italy-based brand. They have some products that are like no makeup, but then they also have some that are super interesting and bold. Because honestly, the products that I've tried from this brand have been really good. They have this cream highlighter that comes in this squeezy packaging. And I gotta say, I was not expecting this one to pack such a punch. Really beautiful and honestly really unique formula. It's somewhere between a cream and a liquid. A little bit goes a long way. I think this one only comes in a couple of different shades, and like this is the deeper of the two shades. I think this one is called Copper. Very flattering for a medium deep skin tone. Just a cool product. If you're able to try anything from this brand and they're kind of more accessible to you, I would recommend them. Next, we have a formula from Juicy, and these have been around for quite some time. These are one of the OG jelly highlight formulas on the market, and it's fun. They've actually expanded this range this year, but this is one of the more OG shades. It does have a little bit of sparkle to it, but you can see mostly in the swatch that just kind of has a bit of a wet sheen. They'll definitely give the effect of glass skin, especially a few of the shades that are just all pearl, no sparkle. I'm demoing Iridescent Violet, which was a new shade in 2025, and I love using that one the most as an eyeshadow, just because it does have quite a bit of sparkle in it. This is a water-based formula. They typically retail somewhere between $10 and $20. And if you're looking for one that gives more of a glass skin effect, then you are looking for one of the more original shades that came out in the line. Okay, next we have another highlighter from Lethal Cosmetics. This one came out quite some time ago, like closer toward the beginning of 2025. It was a part of their Dexter collection, and this is a liquid highlight. A little bit goes a long way, as you can see. And I did a demo using a bunch of the products in the collection in this little tutorial. This is definitely like a Skin of the Killer Bella type of highlight. You can see kind of an iridescent silver blue green shift. I do find that it's hard to only get a little bit of product when you dispense it. Don't put it directly on your face because I promise you're going to go overboard. In my opinion, this is one of their best and most unique highlighters. I would just reach for this one a little bit more if it wasn't a liquid, and that's just my own personal preference. I think I go for the cream highlights more than I go for the liquid ones. But one of my goals for 2026 is to experiment more with liquid highlighters. Okay, Wet n Wild joined the jelly highlight train this year, and super glad because it's Wet n Wild, so you know it's going to be affordable. These were a part of the Disney Villain collection. I'm not sure if they're still currently available. If they are and you like this type of product, definitely check them out. In particular, I have to mention this green shade. It's an iridescent green, and I haven't seen another brand do an iridescent green like this one. Specifically when we're talking about jelly highlighters, because Moira's done them. Of course, we have the OG Juicy. We even have the eyeshadow jelly sticks that have come out from so many brands this year. The formulas of these are really nice, and these are a little bit more sparkly. So again, you have to be okay with a more sparkly highlight to enjoy these, but these also make for beautiful eyeshadows, inner corner highlights, and brow bone highlights. And I just have to mention it again, I feel like Wet n Wild has brought out so many very, very fun products at such an affordable price point, especially in 2025. So the stakes are high to deliver in 2026. Okay, last but not least, I have to talk about an older formula that I tried in 2025, and that is the highlighters from Cloudicos. I've said it before, but I'll say it again. These products have really withstood the test of time. These came out several years ago, and I still feel like highlighters that are coming out in 2025, they still stand up really well against them. They had innovative shades, really reliable formulas. And if you haven't tried these highlighters, I definitely do recommend them if you like fun, colorful highlights that have sparkle. I'm very happy that they came out with a new release this year. I know a lot of people were worried that they might be going out of business. And honestly, I truly hope that they decide to pad out this range in the future. I'm not obsessed with the bulky kind of tin packaging, but the product itself is really nice. If they came out with new shades, what would you like to see them do? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Alright, now that I've had a chance to go through everything, I really hope you found this video helpful. I find my highlighter videos to be so incredibly fun to make. I love talking about highlighters, wearing them, applying them, just geeking out over all of it in general. I would love to hear in the comments what you would like to see from the highlighter perspective in 2026. Also, I might be near the end of my roundup videos, but let me know if you'd like to see one for blushes and for eyeshadow palettes. As always, I really hope you found this video helpful. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. And if you made it to the end, please leave me a cheers emoji. Happy 2026.